I tried intermittent fasting for a month. It's Tom! Hi friends, it's Tom. And yeah, I did try intermittent fasting, or IF, for a month. Now, for those of you who may not be familiar with IF or intermittent fasting, it limits the time frame in which you eat instead of the day-long grazing that most of us eat. You can do a 16-hour fast followed by an 8-hour window of eating, what's known as a 16-8. You could do an 18-6, a 24, and if you're really hardcore, you could try a 22-2, a 23-1, or OMAD, 1 meal a day. And for the true hardcores, every other day eating, where you would eat one day, fast for the next, and on from there. The theory behind this is it's not so much what you eat as when you actually eat it. A little background. Mere days before everything was locked down, I had a total knee replacement, which basically meant that for a couple months, the only activity I had was physical therapy. Unfortunately, I also used that time as a chance to eat pretty much anything I wanted at any time I wanted. You see, before the surgery and before COVID hit, I was eating pretty low carb, not keto, but low carb. I also made sure that I watched what I put in my face so I didn't go over a certain calorie limit. However, post-op and during the early stages of COVID, I ate a lot. I ate whatever. I didn't even limit myself a little bit. Frankly, I was lucky to have just gained 10 pounds. I knew that by reducing my carbs and limiting my portion sizes, that the weight would just fall right off. I wanted to try something perhaps a little bit different this time, though. Some of the alleged benefits to intermittent fasting include, but are not limited to, the obvious of weight loss, better sleep, better cognitive function, better memory, lower inflammation, reduced cravings, reduced hunger, and saving up to 30% on your food budget, up to. There are more alleged benefits to IF, but I'll leave those for another video. Of course, if there's benefits, there also has to be the other side of the coin, potential detriments. And they include being cold, moody, headaches, stomach acid, nausea, fainting, and gout. Look, I wasn't hardcore enough to just jump right into a 22-2 or an OMAD situation, and Lord knows I wasn't going to fast every other day and eat every other day. It just wasn't going to happen. So I did what's known as the beginner method, and I did a 16-8 protocol, meaning I fasted for 16 hours and I ate for 8 hours. And since the theory is it's not what you eat, but when you eat it, I did my very best to maintain the same amount of activity and the same amount of food, meaning I had the same amount of calories coming in as I had going out as I had the previous month, just to see if the scale moved at all with everything else being consistent. And I weighed myself in the morning of the first day of the month and the first day of the following month, just to see if there was any difference in the scale. No, I did not. There were 2 days during the month, just 2 days in which I did not follow the 16-8 IF protocol. One was on a Sunday where I had breakfast with friends and figured, well, I'll just eat for the entire day. The following weekend, I had breakfast with friends on a Saturday, and I figured, well, I'll just eat for the entire day. The rest of the month, I was holding true to the 16-8 protocol, except for the final weekend of the month, I decided to test out fasting for 20 hours and eating for 4 on both that Saturday and Sunday, just to see if I could do it. What did I learn? Well, I kept a video diary of it. That first week was pretty brutal. I was hungry a lot, and I wound up having hunger pains and getting hangry as the morning progressed. But I also noticed that my energy increased as the morning progressed as well. Thing is, I wound up watching the clock a lot and pretty much did a happy dance whenever it hit 1, because that meant I could eat. The second week has been much better. I've been able to control my hunger pains, I think in large part due to doing ab work, such as stomach vacuums, which I'll talk about in another video. But I notice my cravings have gone down too. So I might be onto something here. The third week's in the books, and I'm feeling pretty good. I increased the fluid intake substantially, and that's because I had a lot of, how you say in America, a lot of fluid going out. I noticed that the increased intake of black tea, black coffee, and even water helped quell a lot of the food pangs I've been having. That combined with the increased ab workouts have helped keep me a little bit sane. Today ends my month-long experiment with intermittent fasting. And I have to say, this past week, it just felt, well, normal, if you could call it that. It just felt normal to not eat until 1 p.m. and stop eating at 9 p.m. I'm proud I did it. I'm proud I did it. My first takeaway was that getting hangry is a real thing. I was a little bit moody. My other half could probably tell you a little bit better than I. But I also found that I really, really loved being in the fasted state. I loved how I felt. I found I had more energy as I got closer to my feeding window. I also seemed to think more clearly. Heck, even my memory improved. Of course, that may be due to some of the memory exercises I've been doing this month. More on that in another video. As far as the weight change, I actually gained 3 pounds. I gained 3 pounds. I gained 3 pounds. Now, full disclosure, a couple of years ago, I made an aborted attempt at doing IF, and I had gained weight then, too. To have it happen again, strictly following the protocol, was, at best, dismaying. Now, I don't know if this experiment increased my lifespan at all, and hopefully I won't find out for many, many decades from now. But I did notice, as I mentioned earlier, that early on I was a little bit moody. But I chalk that up a little bit to the lack of food and a little bit to being stuck at home. And oh my God, when will this be over? I also missed breakfast. Now, I don't know if that was from habit or that I was hungry or the fact that I make the perfect French omelet, and French omelets are delicious. And I found that my love for breakfast was at odds with how great I felt in the fasted state. One of the side effects I totally expected. My eating window was from 1 p.m. until 9 p.m. and I tend to turn in around 10 p.m., which meant that I knew going in I would probably be bloated by the time I went to bed, and that was the case. I tend to like to give myself a little bit more time to digest things before falling asleep. I'll do intermittent fasting again, but not immediately. From now until Thanksgiving, I will eat like I normally did pre-pandemic and pre-op, eating low carbs and keeping a track of my calories and the portion sizes. And whereas previously I included one cheat day per week, I will not cheat until Thanksgiving. I'll revisit intermittent fasting with a smaller eating window and perhaps even OMAD, one meal a day, at some point in the future. I don't necessarily recommend that everybody try intermittent fasting. If you're pregnant, if you have a health issue, no. And even before you try this, I would recommend that you have a visit with your primary care physician just to make sure that you're healthy enough to do this. And if you enjoyed today's video, were a little bit amused, perhaps a little informed, or even inspired, please go ahead and hit the like button and share so that others can find this video and this channel. And if you thought this video had value for friends of yours, go ahead and share it with them. You know who I am. It's Tom. And I'll see you next time.